Leonarda Cianciulli, the serial killer who turned her victims into soap. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the serial killer who turned her victims into soap. Leonarda Cianciulli was an Italian serial killer who lured women into her home, killed them, and made soaps and tea cakes out of their bodies, which she then sold and served to visitors. She was born on April 18, 1894, in Montella, Italy. Her life was rather tragic and led her to attempt suicide twice before she reached adulthood. In 1914, she married a registry office clerk, Raffaele Ponsardi. Her parents didn't approve that marriage, as they planned her to marry another man. Leonarda claimed that on this occasion her mother cursed them. A mother's curse? To be fair, Leonarda and Raffaele did have their share of unfortunate events. In 1927, Leonarda was imprisoned on charges of fraud, and then 3 years later, their home was demolished by an earthquake. 3 of her pregnancies ended in miscarriage, and 10 more resulted in babies who died very young. Despite 17 pregnancies, only 4 kids survived. She was desperate to protect these 4, no matter the cost. Already a very superstitious person, it didn't help that a fortune teller had predicted the death of not only some but all of her offspring. While this would be unsettling to most, she became what you might consider a bit paranoid as a consequence. When World War II started, Leonarda's oldest son, Giuseppe, told her of his plans to join the army. This is one of the reasons many believe she completely lost her already unstable mind. Giuseppe would be directly in harm's way, and this was particularly upsetting as he was Leonarda's favorite remaining child. She felt especially helpless to protect him, let alone her other children, until she came up with a truly awful idea. At some point, Leonarda became convinced that the only way to keep them all safe was to offer up some human sacrifices. Only then did she believe her children would be free from harm, and Giuseppe would come home alive. The 3 victims were carefully picked and all came to Leonarda for a specific reason. Leonarda was strategic about her intended targets. All were older women who lived on their own. All of the women dreamed of a more exciting and fulfilling life elsewhere outside of Correggio. To Leonarda, this made them perfect. The first unsuspecting victim she selected was a spinster named Faustina Setti. Since she had no immediate family, Leonarda believed she could easily get away with her murder without many questions. Leonarda tricked Faustina by saying that she had found her the perfect future husband. However, this man wasn't in their hometown but in the large city of Pola. Further, she convinced Faustina not to tell anyone. Instead, Faustina wrote letters explaining she had left, which she would send once she had arrived in Pola. Before she left on her trip, Faustina visited Leonarda and paid her a large sum of money for her assistance. This consisted of her entire life savings of 3,000 lira, the equivalent of $530 at the time and around $9,500 today. Leonarda offered Faustina a glass of wine to celebrate. Unaware that it was drugged, she drank it and she soon lost consciousness. Leonarda then attacked her with an axe and dragged the body across the room to the closet. There, Leonarda sliced Faustina apart by hacking her into exactly 9 pieces. She collected all of the blood in a large bowl and left it to cool down. Leonarda Cianciulli's tea cakes. The chunks of flesh were mixed with lye, a harsh chemical that dissolved them into mush. This was then dumped into a septic tank and likely into waste. Faustina's blood eventually grew cold and thick, after which Leonarda dried it in her oven and then pulverized it into a red powder. The powder was later incorporated with other ingredients such as flour, eggs, and sugar and kneaded together. The dough became tea cakes. These pastries had a crunchy texture and were served to clueless visitors as members of Leonarda's family. In other words, Leonarda, her son, and her neighbors all ate Faustina over the span of a few days. It was a fate that Faustina never saw coming. The murders of Francesca Soavi and Virginia Cacioppo. Sadly, one innocent victim wasn't enough. Leonarda thought her children's safety required more for extra security, or perhaps at this point, she developed a figurative as well as literal taste for killing others. She set her sights next on Francesca Soavi, who was searching for a place of employment. Leonarda told her she had just the position she was looking for at a school in the city of Piacenza. Like Faustina, Francesca was advised to tell no one else about this good fortune. Instead, she wrote letters to send from right there in Correggio telling everyone she was moving. Then she stopped by to see Leonarda to deliver 3,000 lira as payment. She too was given a drugged beverage, sliced into pieces, and partially eaten. Leonardo's third victim was a bit different. Virginia Cacioppo was quite elegant and, as a former opera singer, had a beautiful voice. She was such a talented soprano that she is thought to have graced the stage of the Piazza del Scala, one of the most prestigious theaters in the world. And that was not all that set her apart. As Leonardo would remark later, Virginia tasted exceptionally sweet. Her flesh also made remarkable soap. Virginia was deceived when Leonardo told her she had secured her secretary work in the city of Florence. She agreed to go and to tell not one soul of her plan. When she visited Leonardo to give her 50,000 lira of her hard-earned money, Leonardo drugged and murdered her. However, she took extra liberties with the body. The 9 pieces were mixed with lye in a pot, but the result was extra white and fatty. This inspired Leonardo not to dump it out but instead to add some scent to it while she boiled it. This turned into soap that she gave out to everyone who would take it. The blood was used for tea cakes, as was her moe, and Leonardo was especially pleased with the sweetness of the end product. Leonardo was finally caught by good timing and luck. Cacioppo's sister-in-law immediately noticed her sudden disappearance and had happened to see her entering Leonardo's shop the day she went missing. She went to the police with this information. This started an investigation, and because she wasn't the best at hiding the evidence, Leonardo was arrested not long afterward. Her beloved son was also the target of suspicions until she confessed. She then explained each one of her crimes matter-of-factly with excruciatingly horrific detail. The trial of the soap lady killer of Correggio began in 1946, and though Leonardo was charged with murder, she was far from remorseful about what she had done. In fact, when prosecutors and other court observers got a detail or two wrong, she made sure to set the record straight. Unsurprisingly, she was found guilty and was given 30 years behind bars. The judge sentenced her to an additional 3 years in a criminal asylum, where she died of a brain hemorrhage in 1970. The tools she left behind were put on display in a criminal museum. It seems that the thought of a woman and mother not just murdering, but bathing with and cooking parts of her victims will always draw interest, as well as remain hauntingly disturbing.